My name's Lonnie. I started this channel because I love writing and storytelling. This channel is dedicated to sharing those stories with you so we can all go on the adventure together. So I just wanted to say thank you for being here and sharing the stories with me. There's going to be more amazing D&D content, so please subscribe. Thank you.
The Tale of Zukini, the most frustrating D&D character of all time. Okay, so quick disclaimer. I don't think this player was particularly bad overall. In a different group, under different circumstances, I'm pretty sure he's absolutely a great player. But this, for me, was an absolutely endless source of frustration. So, me and my group had been playing together for years. After our last GM experienced burnout, we ended that campaign and he shifted to being a player. We went out and found ourselves a new GM, and she was absolutely wonderful. Really hit the jackpot with that one. We had session 0 where we established certain things we didn't like in our campaigns and parties. And one recurring theme was for us passive pacifistic characters. This basically means we don't want characters we need to drag along, or ones who run away from combat, or who are going to take the moral high ground if we kill a few bandits. If you want to roleplay that kind of stuff, more power to you. But that's just not what our group is about. Sitting around for 2 sessions moping about the bandits' family is not fun for us. We've experienced it before, and no thank you. Anyway, we have session 0 and session 1, and everything seems great. We say we're considering adding another player, and the GM says she has just the guy, her husband. He's great. We're obviously on board, and this may have been a mistake. Session 2 rolls around, and we meet a fun little plant guy with a British accent who seems really nice. And we're all happy to have him. Except psych! He got us. Plant guy isn't the new player's character. It's his familiar. The actual character is Zukini, a raccoon druid who is pretending to be a hat. Because he's shy? Now, you listen to this introduction and you go, yes, great. That sounds amazing. And we did too. It seemed really cool, and then issues started to surface. So our party's assignment, for which we were hired by some artist lady, was to solve a series of seemingly random items being stolen, alongside a single-family heirloom, a child's toy. The guards didn't really care too much because the crimes were really small, but apparently there may have been some cult involved. We were sent to investigate, so some of us were on board for helping because of the pay, others wanted to bring criminals to justice, but this brought up the question, why did Zukini want to join the group of random adventurers investigating minor thefts? And the answer is, I don't know. And Zukini didn't know either. We were the party, and he was a party member, so he just came along. This isn't me guessing either. The player genuinely joined us before he actually thought up his character's backstory, or why his character would want to join us at all. He just did. Session 3 rolls around and we come across a broken down cart, which is one we'd been following out of town since it seemed to be the one used by the robbers. Except it was a trap. Bandits surround us and attack. Time for battle. Well, for most of us. Zukini used Wall of Thorns to hinder some bandits and proceeded to not do anything else for the rest of the combat, while we were being robbed by bandits. So, the question of why comes up again. The player in our GM assures how deeply invested he is in roleplay and committing to a character, and he can't really explain why he'd both joined us and would be unwilling to help us fight, as he isn't done writing the character's backstory yet. We find the bandits' base, an isolated farmhouse. We try talking our way in, but that goes poorly, so a fight breaks out. Zukini grabs a single goblin bandit and grapples him, because he doesn't want to kill him. And that's about his entire contribution in that combat encounter, while we were fighting about a dozen bandits. Really good job then. This in addition to the fact that he spends most of his time pretending to be a hat, so even if he does participate in combat, that only happens once he's done transforming out of hat form. We talk to the goblin, and in an inspired move, the GM makes him cute and silly, so we immediately befriend him. He was paid in forks for his service, so we give him forks. Then we enter the farm proper with a new goblin friend. This time, for reasons, Zukini decides he will help with combat. Hooray! He turns into a bear and kills one guy violently. Could this be growth? Is he a team player now? Nope. We descend into the basement, where we are promptly ambushed, and Zukini proceeds to not help again, even as our goblin buddy is kidnapped by the cultist leader to be punished for his betrayal. He was upset about the idea of killing that one bandit earlier, right? Maybe. Also, he explains that we're the ones breaking into their house, so we might be the ones in the wrong here. Session 3 ends with us making it back to the city and my character, the party's healer, calling Zukini out for not being enough of a team player. Basically, you're either a member of this team or you're not. Combat is dangerous, and I'm trying to keep you guys alive, so if you're actually going to be hanging around, you need to actually be doing something. You know, that type of stuff. And he actually agrees. Growth. Or so I thought. Except then a work thing comes up, and Zukini's player is fully gone for 3 sessions. By the time he's back, the game's moved on, and we're crashing a new cultist hideout. And it's like that conversation never happened. We're back to being a friggin' hat. The rest of the party's like, okay, cool, let's try exploring his backstory then. Maybe the bad experience in combat can be salvaged through roleplay. But no. Zukini is dodgy and secretive about his backstory, so it's hard to really establish motivation or growth. And out of character, his player explains that he just didn't have time to really write the backstory yet. We are now 2 months into the campaign, mind you. This keeps up for a bit longer, while Zukini literally fails to be present for 2 consecutive sessions for most of this run, so nothing ever gets resolved in character. And bringing it up out of character is also a problem, because we really like the GM, and this is her husband, and we don't want to upset her. So we sort of just chug along, assuming he's just the guy who occasionally pops up in to contribute little before vanishing again for weeks. It is what it is. Notably, however, being unable to explain his annoying quirks and his backstory doesn't stop him from developing new, exciting, and annoying quirks to annoy me with. Like being prone to running off and refusing to be healed between battles. So he's basically in a perpetual state of missing hit points. This pairs terribly with the fact that when he does fight, he likes to transform and be on the front line. Now for a little meta tangent. Pathfinder 2e druids can be in the front line for a bit by taking animal forms, but they still have caster hit points and relatively low AC. They aren't designed to be holding the front line alone. But this seemed to be the thing Zukini was all about, while missing hit points when combat started because he refused to be healed. I have spent full encounters with the sole purpose of trying to stop him from dying. It got so bad that I started hoping that he would just stay a hat, because at least that way, I'd be able to do stuff in battle that wasn't just trying to keep him alive. 4 months into the campaign, it finally happened. Zukini's player announces that his backstory was finished, just as we were descending into the cultist's main base. Unfortunately, we will never learn what the story actually was, because this is where Zukini dies. And what a glorious death it was. An epic battle where Zukini truly blossomed into his final, most terrible form. Before that battle, we found a chamber where cultists were doing some sort of ritual to summon ooze monsters. Normal cultist stuff. We beat him up while taking moderate damage while saving some hostages. A reasonable outcome. As we try to heal and refocus, Zukini does what Zukini does. He runs off with half his hit points gone. To explore, I guess. He immediately runs into a hallway with 4 cultists wielding maces. Here, Zukini truly does some galaxy brain stuff. He turns into a friggin' dinosaur, taking up the entire hallway, placing himself between us and the cultists. Now, in Zukini's mind, this is the moment of heroic sacrifice. In practice, this is him seemingly working against the party because it somehow turned an easy encounter into torture. So, with Zukini's fat dinosaur ass taking up the entire hallway, the cultists start whacking him with their maces. Our monk tumbles past them, wasting a full turn to get on the other side and soak up some damage. But this means he's now outnumbered on the other side and being flanked. Our barbarian with paladin archetype literally cannot reach the fight because there's a dinosaur in his way and he isn't trained in acrobatics. So he's spending full turns doing nothing and getting frustrated. Our archer cannot reliably hit because Zukini's in the way, granting the enemy's cover. My character and the bard are doing our best, but we have no focus points and we are burning spell slots on keeping Zukini and the monk alive. Still, there's only so much we can do, and eventually Zukini succumbs to his wounds and dies. Thank the gods. Basically, the moment he drops, we handily win the fight, because there's 4 guys with maces, and no dinosaur hindering our efforts to go through them like a hot knife through butter. And Zukini's player says not to worry. He has a backup character planned. I worry. We keep going, and find ourselves faced with a hag and another bunch of cultists. And the hag is holding some elf guy hostage. This is the new Zukini. We free him, and it turns out he's, I want to say wizard. Anyway, here's what we know about this hag and these cultists. They are agile and have a good will save, but terrible fortitude. New Zukini would reasonably be able to figure this out, right? Wrong. New Zukini decides to upcast Fireball, a reflex save, to hit the hag, some cultists, and some of our party. Barbarian crit fails as his dexterity sucks, while most enemies either succeed or crit succeed. It is a literal dumpster fire. The session mercifully ends. At this point, the Barbarian is understandably kinda mad, and finally says that we need to talk because the party dynamic isn't working. This causes Zukini's player to quit. But, as a final insult, he does this by talking about how happy Zukini would be to sacrifice himself to protect his friends. I'm sorry, what? Sacrifice himself to protect his friends? Protect them from what? These 4 random cultists with sticks? We eat these chuckleheads for breakfast. The only reason Zukini had to die is because Zukini seemed to be actively working against surviving. Well, at least Zukini was gone. And it was for the best, as the rest of the campaign was pretty awesome. And that is the tale of Zukini. He lived as he died, upsetting me. Roleplay and unique characters are great, if that's what the party dynamic is about. As funny and fun as Zukini could be in a game, it just needs to be the right game. I want to hear about your unique, funny characters in the comments below. Before we take our leave, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, All Things D&D. Stay tuned for more amazing Dungeons & Dragons content.